I did 5 some years in jail. That. If God want me to go to jail, he gonna send my ass to jail. If God want me to stay free, he gonna keep me free. If he want me to go to jail, he set me up for a bigger crime.
Oh my God, this isn't just another rapper controversy. It's watching a Louisiana legend's life completely unravel in real time. And you guys, the implications of what's happening behind bars are absolutely insane. Boosie Badazz, the man who built his entire career on keeping it real about street life, is now living that reality in ways that nobody expected. And when I tell you that what's surfacing about his time in custody is changing everything we thought we knew about his situation, I'm not even exaggerating. So, if you don't know Boosie's story, let me catch you up real quick, because this man's journey has been absolutely wild from day one. Torrance Hatch Jr., that's his real name, came straight out of Baton Rouge with this raw energy that you just couldn't ignore. And honestly, when he first started making music in the late 90s, nobody could have predicted he'd become one of the most controversial and beloved figures in Southern hip-hop. Girl, this man has been through it all, and I mean everything. Prison sentences, legal battles, health scares, family drama, and industry beef that would break most people. But Boosie always came back stronger, more defiant, and definitely more outspoken. Literally, he became famous for saying exactly what was on his mind, regardless of who it offended or what consequences it might bring. And you guys, his music career has been this incredible roller coaster that spans over 2 decades. Starting with his group Concentration Camp in the late 90s, then going solo and dropping mixtapes that had the streets absolutely buzzing. Songs like Wipe Me Down and Better Believe It weren't just hits, they were anthems for a whole generation of fans who connected with his authentic storytelling about struggle, loyalty, and survival. But here's where it gets really interesting, because Boosie's legal troubles have been this constant shadow over his career since literally the beginning. This man has faced charges ranging from drug possession to weapons violations, and each time his fans rallied around him like he was some kind of folk hero. And honestly, in many ways, that's exactly what he became.
Lil Boosie Hatch pleaded guilty this afternoon to drug and gun charges. Lil Boosie was scheduled to stand trial this coming Monday, but entered a plea deal today to avoid trial.
The most serious legal situation came in 2009 when he was arrested on drug charges that eventually led to an 8-year prison sentence. And you guys, during that time behind bars, something incredible happened. Instead of fading into obscurity like many artists do when they're locked up, Boosie's legend actually grew. His team kept releasing music, his name stayed in the headlines, and fans organized campaigns demanding his freedom. Can we talk about how rare it is for an artist to maintain relevance while serving serious prison time? But Boosie managed to do exactly that. His story became this symbol of perseverance, and when he was finally released in 2014, the celebration was massive. He came home to a changed hip-hop landscape, but somehow still managed to find his place and rebuild his career. And honestly, since his release, Boosie has been incredibly prolific. Albums, mixtapes, collaborations, social media presence, reality shows, you name it. He figured out how to stay connected with his audience in ways that keep him relevant across different generations of hip-hop fans. Plus, his controversial statements and unfiltered opinions on everything from politics to pop culture have made him this constant source of headlines and debate. But wait, because this is where the current situation gets really complex. Throughout his career, Boosie has always been transparent about his past, his mistakes, and his ongoing struggles with the justice system. He's never tried to present himself as perfect or reformed. Instead, he's been honest about the reality of his lifestyle and the consequences that come with it. And you guys, that authenticity is probably why his fans remain so loyal. In a genre where a lot of artists try to distance themselves from their past once they achieve success, Boosie has always kept it real about who he is and where he comes from. Whether that's smart from a business perspective is debatable, but it's definitely kept him connected to his core audience. So when news started circulating about new legal troubles and potential jail time, longtime followers weren't necessarily surprised. Unfortunately, this has been a recurring theme throughout his career. But what's different this time is the way information is being shared and the speed at which everything is developing. Girl, social media has completely changed how we follow celebrity legal drama. Like in the past, you'd maybe get updates from entertainment news shows or hip-hop magazines. But now, everything happens in real time. Court documents get posted online minutes after they're filed. Phone calls from jail get recorded and shared. And fans become amateur investigators, tracking every detail of their favorite artist's legal situation. And honestly, this level of access creates both opportunities and problems. On one hand, fans feel more connected to their favorite artists and can show support in real time. But on the other hand, it also means that every aspect of someone's legal troubles becomes public entertainment, which can be really problematic when you're talking about serious charges and real consequences. Now, when it comes to the specific footage that people are talking about, here's where we need to be really careful about what's actually verified versus what's just speculation and rumors. Because you guys, the internet loves to take small pieces of information and create these massive narratives that might not reflect reality. What we do know is that jail communications are routinely monitored and recorded. Like, this isn't secret information. When you're in custody, basically every phone call you make, every video visit you have, and every piece of mail you send or receive can potentially become part of the legal record. And sometimes portions of these communications do become public through court proceedings or media reporting. But here's the thing that's really important to understand about jail footage and recordings. Just because something exists doesn't mean it's automatically damaging or incriminating. Like, these recordings capture normal human behavior, conversations with family members, discussions with lawyers, and just regular day-to-day interactions that happen when someone is dealing with the stress of being in custody. And you guys, the way media and social media present these recordings can be really misleading. Like, a normal conversation about legal strategy might get presented as evidence of guilt. An emotional moment with family members might get twisted into something it's not. And discussions about case details that are perfectly legal to have might get misinterpreted as admissions or confessions. So when people talk about footage changing everything, we really need to ask what that actually means. Like, is there genuinely new information that affects the legal case? Or is it just providing more insight into what someone is going through while dealing with serious legal charges? Because those are very different things. The reality is that being in jail is incredibly stressful, isolating, and emotionally difficult, regardless of whether you're guilty or innocent of whatever charges you're facing. And when you're a public figure, that stress is amplified because you know that every aspect of your situation is being analyzed and discussed by thousands of people who don't really know you or understand your circumstances. Like, imagine trying to maintain your mental health, support your family, work with your legal team, and preserve your career while dealing with the possibility of serious prison time. And then imagine knowing that people are dissecting every conversation you have and every emotion you show. That level of pressure would be overwhelming for anyone. And honestly, this is where I think we need to have more empathy for people going through the legal system, regardless of their celebrity status. Like, our justice system is supposed to be based on the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. But social media culture often flips that, where people are assumed guilty and every piece of information gets interpreted through that lens. Now, let's talk about Boosie's impact on hip-hop culture, because that context is really important for understanding why his legal situations generate so much attention. This man has been influential in ways that go far beyond just his music. Like, he's been this voice for a specific experience and perspective that resonates with a lot of people who feel overlooked or misunderstood by mainstream society. His authenticity, his willingness to speak on controversial topics, and his refusal to conform to industry expectations have made him this unique figure in hip-hop. And whether you agree with his opinions or not, you have to respect the fact that he's consistently been himself, even when it would have been easier or more profitable to play it safe. And you guys, that authenticity has created this incredibly loyal fan base that sees him as more than just an entertainer. Like, they view him as someone who represents their struggles, their communities, and their values. So when he faces legal troubles, they don't just see it as celebrity drama, they see it as an attack on someone who represents them. This dynamic is really important because it explains why Boosie's legal situations become these cultural moments that extend far beyond the hip-hop community. Like, his cases become symbols for broader discussions about justice, inequality, and the treatment of people from certain backgrounds by the legal system. But here's where it gets complicated, because that symbolic status can sometimes overshadow the actual legal facts of whatever case he's dealing with. Like, people might support him based on what he represents, rather than the specific details of the charges he's facing. And while loyalty is admirable, it's also important to let the legal process play out and base opinions on facts, rather than emotions. Girl, the relationship between hip-hop culture and the criminal justice system has always been complex and often problematic. Like, on one hand, many artists use their platforms to highlight real issues with policing, prosecution, and incarceration that disproportionately affect their communities. But on the other hand, the glorification of criminal activity in some hip-hop music can create situations where legal troubles actually enhance an artist's credibility rather than damage it. And honestly, Boosie's career exists right in the middle of that tension. His music has always been honest about street life, including the violence, drug dealing, and other illegal activities that are part of that reality. And that honesty has been both his greatest strength as an artist and a source of ongoing legal problems. Like, when prosecutors build cases against rappers, they often use lyrics and social media posts as evidence. And while there are legitimate questions about whether artistic expression should be used in criminal proceedings, the reality is that it happens regularly. So artists like Boosie, who are very explicit about their past and present activities, face additional scrutiny that other people might not. And you guys, this creates this impossible situation where authenticity, which is supposedly valued in hip-hop culture, can actually become a liability in the legal system. Like, staying true to your roots in your community might mean continuing to associate with people and places that could put you at legal risk. But distancing yourself from those roots might mean losing the credibility that made you successful in the first place. Now, let's talk about the business side of this, because Boosie's legal troubles don't just affect him personally. They also impact his team, his family, and everyone whose livelihood depends on his career. Like, when an artist is facing serious charges or is incarcerated, it affects recording schedules, tour plans, endorsement deals, and all the other revenue streams that support not just the artist, but everyone around them. And honestly, the music industry has gotten better at maintaining artist careers during legal troubles, but it's still incredibly challenging. Like, you can release music that was recorded before incarceration, but you can't tour or do most promotional activities. You can maintain social media presence through your team, but it's not the same as direct artist engagement. Plus, different platforms and business partners have different policies about working with artists who are facing serious charges. Some will stick with you through legal troubles, while others will distance themselves to protect their own reputations. And unfortunately, these business decisions often happen before cases are resolved, which can create financial pressure that affects legal defense strategies. Like, imagine trying to mount an effective legal defense while also worrying about maintaining income streams to support your family and pay for that defense. It's this catch-22 situation where legal troubles create financial problems that make it harder to address the legal troubles. And you guys, for artists like Boosie, who have been supporting extended families and communities, the pressure is even greater. Like, it's not just about his own future, it's about everyone who depends on him financially. And that weight has to be incredibly stressful when you're already dealing with the possibility of serious prison time. But here's what's really interesting about Boosie specifically. Throughout his career, he's been incredibly savvy about building multiple revenue streams and maintaining his relevance even during difficult periods. Like, he's not just a rapper. He's also been involved in reality TV, social media content, business ventures, and other projects that help diversify his income and keep him connected to his audience. So even when he's facing legal challenges, he's often still finding ways to generate content and maintain his brand. And honestly, that business acumen is part of what has made him so successful and resilient throughout his career. Like, he understands that in today's entertainment landscape, you can't just rely on music sales. You have to be constantly engaging with your audience and finding new ways to monetize that relationship. Now, when we talk about jail footage and recordings, it's important to understand the legal framework around how these materials can be used. Like, generally speaking, communications between inmates and their attorneys are protected by attorney-client privilege, but almost everything else can potentially be monitored and used as evidence. Phone calls with family members, conversations with other inmates, video visits, and even mail correspondence can all be subject to monitoring and potential use in legal proceedings. And inmates are typically informed of this monitoring, though the specific policies can vary between different facilities. But girl, just because something is recorded doesn't mean it's automatically admissible in court. There are rules about how evidence can be collected and used, and defense attorneys regularly challenge the admission of jail recordings and communications. Like, if something was obtained improperly or violates constitutional rights, it might not be allowed in court, even if it seems incriminating. And honestly, the interpretation of jail communications can be really subjective. Like, prosecutors might present a conversation one way, while defense attorneys argue it means something completely different. And without full context about the relationship between the people talking, the circumstances of the conversation, and the specific language being used, it can be really hard for outsiders to understand what's actually significant. So, when media reports talk about footage that changes everything, it's worth being skeptical about whether that's actually true from a legal perspective. Like, it might be new information that's interesting to the public, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's evidence that will significantly impact the outcome of a case. So, and you guys, this is where the intersection of celebrity culture and the legal system gets really problematic. Because public interest in celebrity legal cases can create pressure on prosecutors, defense attorneys, and even judges that might not exist in cases involving non-famous defendants. Like, when every detail of a case is being discussed on social media and covered by entertainment news outlets, it can affect how legal strategies are developed and how decisions are made. And that's not necessarily good for the pursuit of justice, regardless of whether you think the defendant is guilty or innocent. Let's also talk about the impact of this situation on Boosie's family, because they're often the ones who suffer most when legal troubles drag on. Like, his children have to deal with seeing their father's legal problems discussed constantly in the media. His extended family members might face harassment or judgment from people who have opinions about his case. And honestly, the families of public figures facing legal troubles often don't have the resources or support systems to deal with that kind of scrutiny. Like, they didn't choose to be in the public eye, but they have to deal with the consequences of that attention when legal problems arise. Plus, the financial impact on families can be severe. Legal defense for serious charges is incredibly expensive, and that's money that might otherwise go toward housing, education, healthcare, and other basic needs. So even if someone is ultimately found not guilty, the process of defending against charges can create long-lasting financial hardship for their entire family. Now, I want to talk about the broader cultural implications of how we consume and discuss celebrity legal drama. Because you guys, there's something really troubling about the way we treat other people's legal troubles as entertainment. Like, I get it. Celebrity culture is inherently about public interest in famous people's personal lives. And when someone has built their career on being authentic and transparent about their struggles, it's natural for fans to want to follow their story through difficult times. But there's a difference between showing support for someone you admire and turning their legal troubles into a source of entertainment or gossip. And unfortunately, social media culture often encourages the latter, where every development in a case becomes content for discussion, debate, and sometimes mockery. And honestly, this dynamic can be really harmful, not just to the people directly involved, but to our broader understanding of how the justice system works. Like, when legal cases become social media trends, people often form strong opinions based on limited or inaccurate information, and those opinions can influence how cases are perceived and even how they're prosecuted. Girl, I think we need to be more thoughtful about how we engage with celebrity legal drama. Like, it's fine to be interested and to show support for artists you care about, but we should also remember that these are real people dealing with serious consequences, not characters in a reality show. And honestly, the best way to support someone facing legal troubles is usually to let the legal process play out without adding to the noise and speculation. Like, trust their legal team to handle the case, support their family if you're able, and avoid spreading unverified information that might make their situation more difficult. So when it comes to this supposed footage of Boosie, here's what I think we should keep in mind. First, we don't know what this footage actually shows or whether it's even legitimate. Second, even if it is real, we don't know what context it was recorded in or how it might be interpreted by people who understand the full legal situation. Third, whatever someone says or does while dealing with the stress of potential incarceration might not reflect their true thoughts or intentions. Like, people say and do things under extreme pressure that they might not say or do under normal circumstances. And finally, we should remember that our justice system is supposed to be based on evidence that's properly obtained and presented in court, not on speculation based on partial information that gets shared on social media. So you guys, while I understand the curiosity about what's happening with Boosie's legal situation, I think we should be cautious about jumping to conclusions based on fragments of information. Like, let's support the artists we care about, but let's also respect the legal process and remember that real people's lives and futures are at stake. And honestly, regardless of what happens with his current legal troubles, Boosie's impact on hip-hop culture is already established. Like, he's influenced a generation of artists and fans with his authenticity, his resilience, and his willingness to speak his truth even when it's controversial. So whether this footage actually changes anything or not, Boosie's legacy as an artist and as a cultural figure is already secure. And hopefully, whatever challenges he's facing right now will eventually be resolved in a way that allows him to continue making music and connecting with the fans who have supported him throughout his career. Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Not the drama, not the speculation, not the viral moments, but the music and the connection between artists and fans that makes hip-hop culture so powerful and meaningful. So tell me in the comments what you guys think about how we should approach celebrity legal drama. Like, how do we balance our natural curiosity with respect for people's privacy and the legal process? And how do we support artists we care about without contributing to harmful speculation? I really want to hear your thoughts on this because it's something that affects how we engage with so many of the artists and public figures we follow. And if you found this perspective helpful, definitely hit that like button and subscribe because I want to keep having these kinds of thoughtful conversations about hip-hop culture, celebrity, and issues that affect the artists we care about. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.